Imagine you have been training for a marathon for like years.
Yeah.
You have sacrificed your weekends, you have completely changed your diet, and you have poured just thousands of hours
Yeah.
into preparing for this one massive race.
Oh, yeah. Total dedication. Just a grind.
Right, exactly. So you finally show up to the starting line, you are tying your shoes, feeling completely ready to go.
Okay. I am with you.
And then someone taps you on the shoulder and says, oh, hey, didn't you know? The race actually started yesterday.
Oh, wow. That is just brutal.
It is a total nightmare, but that is the exact nightmare happening right now in Division I college gymnastics recruiting. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way. Today we are looking at an insider's script and a brand playbook from a resource called Mat2 Medals.
Yeah. It is basically a survival guide for navigating this incredibly competitive landscape.
And our mission for you today, for this deep dive, is to decode what they call the hidden clock of D1 gymnastics. We're going to translate this highly regulated, honestly, pretty secret language of NCAA compliance communications.
Because the stakes here, I mean, they really cannot be overstated. The gap between the families who understand this hidden calendar and those who are, completely oblivious to it, that gap dictates who gets a spot at an Ivy League or an SEC program and who just gets left behind entirely.
Right, because it is not just about having the best vaults, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, sure, talent matters, but it really comes down to timing. It is about knowing this one specific date that is just burned into the brain of every college gymnastics coach in the country.
Even though most families out there do not even know it exists.
Exactly.
So let's just put it out there. The date we are talking about is June 15th, specifically the June 15th right after a gymnast's sophomore year of high school.
Right, marking the calendar.
Yep. Because under NCAA rules, that is the exact day a D1 college coach is legally allowed to initiate recruiting contact.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, all those things a recruit has been dreaming about,
The phone calls, the texts.
Yeah, the texts, the emails explicitly talking about athletics, the verbal scholarship offers, boom, all officially unlocked.
It is basically the defining cliff edge of the entire recruiting timeline. Because before that specific mid-June day, coaches are legally bound by NCAA compliance rules. They cannot initiate any of that direct athletics-focused contact.
But the sources highlight this really counterintuitive, kind of bizarre detail about the runway leading up to that cliff edge.
Oh, the dead period. Yeah.
Right. So for the 14 days right before June 15th, meaning June 1st through June 14th, the NCAA classifies that as a strict dead period.
Meaning zero contact allowed across the board. None.
Which, if you think about it, creates just an incredibly tense psychological environment for these athletes and their families.
I cannot even imagine the anxiety.
Right. Your entire athletic future is hanging in the balance, and this massive deadline is right there. The dam's about to break.
Yeah.
But for 2 agonizing weeks prior, you get absolute radio silence.
The entire sport is essentially just holding its breath.
Okay, but wait, let me jump in and challenge the premise of this timeline for a second.
Sure, go for it.
If coaches are legally barred from initiating contact before June 15th, why doesn't the NCAA just enforce a total blackout for the years leading up to it? Like, if coaches cannot call you, does that mean they are just, sitting on their hands? Are they just blindly waiting for 2 years, twiddling their thumbs until this magical date arrives?
See, that assumption right there, that is the exact trap that catches so many families off guard.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. The coaches are definitely not sitting on their hands. The whole system operates on this massive loophole centered around just one single word.
And that word is?
Initiating.
Oh.
Yeah. Coaches cannot legally initiate a conversation about a recruit's gymnastic skills or extend offers before June 15th. However, they are totally permitted to respond if the athlete reaches out to them first.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that shifts the burden of action entirely onto the high school sophomore.
Exactly. It is all on the athlete.
If the athlete sends an email, the coach can reply. But looking at our sources here, those legal replies look incredibly discouraging on the surface.
Yeah, they are pretty bleak.
Right, because of compliance rules. A coach's response is mostly restricted to sending, generic camp information, academic overviews, maybe links to the university's general admissions page.
And, of course, a massive, intimidating block of NCAA compliance legalese.
Yes, the compliance block.
Yeah.
Which, according to the playbook, is the core of the miscommunication here.
Right, because coaches are strictly forbidden from saying anything that even resembles an evaluation. They can't say, hey, we love your amplitude on the bars, or we want you on our roster. They just can't do it.
So they have to find another way to communicate.
Exactly. Coaches who are genuinely interested have turned these sterile compliance responses into basically a Trojan horse.
Trojan horse. I like that.
Yeah, because on the outside, it looks like a super boring, legally mandated, automated response, but on the inside, it is actually a highly targeted scouting mission.
They are using the restrictions to send hidden messages. And our Mat 2 Metals script actually gives a perfect real-world example of this in action.
The Ava Smith story.
Yes, the story of Ava Smith. So Ava was a first-year Level 10 gymnast, and she started sending out her very first outreach emails to college programs she liked.
Right, taking that initiative.
But when she got a reply, it was not some warm, welcoming letter. It was that dreaded wall of mandatory NCAA compliance text.
Which, let's be honest, most teenagers and their parents would open that email, see all the legal jargon, and just feel immediate defeat.
Oh, for sure. You'd think, well, they hate me. But tucked right underneath all of that legal boilerplate were 4 highly intentional words.
Just 4 words.
Yep. CNOKC.
Wow.
Right. And that was a direct reference to the USAG Nationals that were happening in Oklahoma City. And even more critically, the response CC'd the entire coaching staff.
Like the head coach, the recruiting coordinator.
Assistant coaches,
Yeah.
everyone.
Okay, breaking down the subtlety of that communication reveals just everything about how this sport operates.
Right, because C at an OKC is technically not a recruiting offer.
Exactly. It contains 0 athletic evaluation. So legally, it safely clears the bar of NCAA compliance, but strategically, it is a massive neon sign.
Because they added that specific location and they copied the entire staff.
Right. The program is signaling to Ava, look, we know who you are, we have mapped out your competition schedule, and our entire department is tracking your progression.
That is wild. And the danger for an uninformed family here is just staggering.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do not know how to translate this coded language, you look at a wall of legal text and assume it is a polite brush-off.
Yeah, you just walk away.
You might completely give up on a program that is actively scouting you just because they didn't explicitly say they liked you.
And the sources point out that the inverse is also true, right?
Yep. Yeah.
If a coach sends pure compliance with absolutely 0 personalized warmth, like literally just the legal block and nothing else, that is their way of sending a polite, legally mandated no thank you.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most critical realization for any family navigating this system.
Right.
If coaches can only respond before June 15th, and they are utilizing these subtle signals to communicate their interest over months or like even years, then June 15th is not the beginning of the recruiting process at all.
Not even close. By the time that date arrives, the coaches are not scrambling to find new talent. The list is already built.
The invisible database.
The invisible database, yes.
Because every time a gymnast reaches out early, sending an email with their latest scores, attaching clean competition film, or registering for that specific university summer camp, they are entering themselves into that program's internal tracking system.
And the mechanics behind that database are meticulous. I mean, the recruiting coordinators aren't just looking for a single lucky routine. They are tracking consistency over a long period of time.
So every email is a data point.
Exactly. Every update shows how a level 10 gymnast handles a deduction, or how they progress a specific skill from one meet to the next. They attach notes to these profiles.
So when the clock strikes midnight on June 15th, a head coach already has a highly curated, prioritized list sitting right in front of them.
Yep. It is essentially the equivalent of handing out your resume at a job fair where all the positions were secretly filled the week before.
Oh man, that is such a good way to put it. If you decide to just introduce yourself on June 15th because you think, oh, it's the official start date, you are jumping into the most chaotic, flooded day of the calendar.
And you are competing against athletes who have been quietly building relationships with that coaching staff for 18 months.
Okay, but it really begs the question, why? Like, why would the NCAA construct a system that essentially necessitates secret signals and shadow databases?
Well, the history outlined in our sources actually explains the 2019 rule change that created this whole environment.
Oh, right, the 2019 shift.
Yeah. Prior to 2019, the official contact date was September 1st of a gymnast's junior year. But the fatal flaw in that timeline was this insane arms race it created. To get ahead, coaches just kept pushing their verbal offers earlier and earlier to the point where they were actively recruiting 8th graders.
8th graders, are you kidding?
I wish I was.
So families were negotiating binding, multi-million-dollar institutional commitments for children who hadn't even learned how to drive yet.
Exactly. The toxicity of that pressure cooker was just entirely unsustainable. So the NCAA stepped in. They moved the contact date to the summer after sophomore year to stop that intense early pressure.
The intent being to give young athletes time to, physically and mentally mature before facing these massive college decisions.
Right. But the irony of that well-intentioned rule change is glaring.
Because the rule was designed to protect families, but the competitive nature of building a championship roster didn't just magically disappear.
No, the evaluation process simply went underground.
Right. So if you do not know the intricate, unspoken mechanics of the June 15th loophole, and you aren't actively getting your gymnasts into that invisible database early, the rule isn't actually protecting you at all.
No, it is just ensuring you are late to the party.
Okay, so once you understand that the evaluation is happening invisibly, the strategy has to shift, right? You move from passive waiting to proactive management.
Yes, and the Mat 2 Metals playbook outlines 3 highly actionable steps to take control of this process.
Okay, let's break those down.
This first one is pure logistics. You have to calculate your specific hidden clock.
Meaning you base this strictly on your gymnast's high school graduation year?
Exactly. You do the math to figure out exactly which year her sophomore summer falls in, and you find June 15th of that year. You mark it on the calendar, and everything your family does works backward from that specific day.
Got it. And that flows directly into the second step, which is initiating your outreach long before you feel fully ready.
Yes, this is huge. You cannot wait for the mid-June floodgates to open. You just can't. You must begin feeding your name, your competition scores, and your clean film into their system early.
You want your name to be an established, familiar entity when that contact period legally unlocks.
Right, rather than being a stranger knocking on a door that is already closing.
Okay, so getting into that database early is crucial, but it brings up a terrifying question for parents.
The money question.
The money question. What if you do all this work, the coaches actively want you, and then you suddenly realize you just cannot afford the school?
Which leads right to the third step, a major reality check. You cannot assume the financial picture of a program before you actually run the numbers.
Because of the 2025 rule change, right?
Yeah.
Explain how that works, because it sounds like a fundamental shift in how a head coach manages their budget.
It is a massive shift. So in 2025, Division I Gymnastics completely overhauled its scholarship model. They moved from having a strict limit of 12 full-ride scholarships per team to allowing up to 20 flexible roster spots.
Wait, under the old model, it was just 12 spots.
Yeah, exactly, 12. And the financial reality was incredibly binary. You were either one of the elite 12 receiving a full ride, or you were a walk-on paying full tuition.
So there was basically zero middle ground.
None. If a family needed financial assistance and the coach didn't have one of those precious 12 spots available, the recruiting conversation simply ended right there.
But moving to 20 flexible spots completely changes the calculus for everyone involved.
It totally turns roster building into a dynamic puzzle. Now, coaches have a pool of athletic aid they can divide up and stack with other funding sources.
Okay, give me an example of how that stacking works.
Sure. So say a coach is recruiting an athlete with a 4.0 GPA. The coach can help secure a significant academic grant through the university, perhaps add some need-based financial aid on top of that, and then top the whole thing off with like a 25% athletic scholarship to complete the package.
Wow. Which means that an $80,000 a year Ivy League university might actually end up costing a family less out of pocket than a $30,000 state school.
Exactly. It totally flips a family's recruiting strategy upside down.
And the sources explicitly advise parents to spend just 10 minutes on a prospective school's net price calculator. Alter which programs are viable options for your athlete.
It drastically widens the playing field. However, hearing all of this structural advice often triggers a wave of panic for listeners who feel they are already behind.
Oh, I bet. There is undoubtedly someone listening right now whose gymnast is well past her sophomore year, and they are hearing about the June 15th database and the 2025 scholarship strategies for the very first time today.
And their immediate reaction is to assume the window has completely closed.
But the sources provide a very reassuring reality check for that exact scenario, grounded in the story of the Mat 2 Metals founder herself, Sally Smith.
Yeah, the playbook candidly details that Sally did not have a master plan in 8th grade.
No, she didn't have the compliance signals or the database metrics figured out ahead of time at all. In fact, she didn't grasp the mechanics of this hidden clock until deep into her daughter Ava's level 10 season.
So by every metric we have discussed today, she was objectively late to the game.
Very late. Yet the coaches still found Ava. The crucial takeaway here is that once Sally understood the rules of engagement, like how to read the compliance emails, how to structure the outreach, how to utilize the new scholarship flexibility, she immediately took action.
The overarching message from her experience is that while earlier is definitely better, it is never too late to begin.
Right. Today is always the right day to start building your profile.
Action cures the anxiety of feeling behind. I mean, the worst possible strategic move a family can make is allowing the fear of being late to paralyze them into taking no action at all.
You just have to start from exactly where you are using the data you currently have.
Absolutely.
And look, if you're ready to take that action, the source materials we have been analyzing today point to one specific hub for all this insider knowledge. You can find all of this at mat2medals.com. That is M-A-T, the number 2, M-E-D-A-L-S.com.
And our script highlights a few specific resources available there that families should immediately utilize.
What is the first one?
The first is their deductions cheat sheet. It specifically breaks down all 4 events for levels 8 through 10, and it is completely free, making it an essential baseline tool for understanding how college coaches will evaluate your competition film.
That sounds incredibly useful. And for those looking to fully map out their strategy, the sources also detail a founder's pass.
Yes.
This grants comprehensive access to all the paid deep dives they're releasing through the end of 2026.
Right, so if you are actively navigating this recruiting maze right now, securing that access sooner rather than later is a highly practical step.
Definitely. And we have really only scratched the surface of this playbook today.
Oh, for sure. There is so much more. In our next deep dive into these materials, we are going to tackle another massive blind spot in the recruiting process.
Which is what the college coaches are actually doing behind closed doors during those agonizing months of silence.
And I assure you, their process is far more active and data-driven than it appears from the outside.
That is going to be a crucial follow-up. But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a broader perspective to consider.
Okay.
We started this conversation by visualizing the nightmare of showing up to a starting line, only to realize the race has been running for a day.
Right, the marathon analogy.
Exactly. Exploring this hidden dynamic in collegiate gymnastics really forces you to look at the structures around you differently.
It absolutely does. The mechanics of the June 15th loophole make you wonder about the rest of the professional and academic world.
Oh, totally.
I mean, where else in your own life or career are you passively waiting for the official start date or the official green light?
Completely unaware that the actual decisions are being made quietly, inside an invisible database, months before the gates actually open.
Exactly. Something to think about.